Hello and welcome to Study IQ. I am your friend Rahul Saigamkar. I hope you are all in good spirits today. Our discussion today relates to IPCC's Climate Mitigation Report. Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change has submitted its sixth report, 2022 Climate Mitigation Report. So, in this particular discussion, we'll talk about 10 key pointers of this particular report. This is going to be a very good fodder for you for mains answer writing if you're preparing for UPSC Civil Services or State PSC examination. And we all know if you just take out the last 10 to 12 or 15 years question papers of these examination, you will find at least one or two questions on climate change for sure. And for this, it is very imperative for us to discuss this IPCC's mitigation report. And I've just divided this into key pointers or key takeaways from the report. The first 5 points are very well known. These are the problems, and the next 5 talk about how we can find the solution. So let us begin and talk about 10 key takeaways of the IPCC's climate mitigation report. Before that, if you're preparing for exams like UPSC Civil Service examination or State PSC examination, do visit our website studyiq.com. Alternatively, you can also download our app from Google Play Store where you'll get all the information about us. These courses will help you in preparing soundly. They'll also enhance your probability of clearing the examination for sure. And do not forget to use the code Rahul33. And do not forget to use the code Rahul33 whenever you check out from StudyIQ. You will get a huge discount of 33% on all the courses across StudyIQ if you use this coupon code. Right, let's begin our discussion and let's talk about the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, its sixth assessment report, the latest report of the Working Group 3. Here, it talks about the mitigation strategies. Right, before we jump into the report and let's talk about the key takeaways, let's talk about IPCC. Sometimes a simple MCQ can be formed on this. Right, IPCC. There are a few things. Statement-based question can come. For example, consider the following statements about IPCC. Right, the headquarter of IPCC, what it does, or does it do any research, etc. Such questions. IPCC is Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. It is an intergovernmental body which is attached with United Nations. In fact, it helps in implementation of the UNFCCC, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. It gives us knowledge about climate change. It makes us understand things about climate change and also helps us in curbing that or stopping the adverse impacts of climate change. This IPCC was formed in 1988 by two organizations. Please remember, World Meteorological Organization and United Nations Environment Program. Now, just research a little and let me know where is the headquarter of World Meteorological Organization and United Nations Environment Program. Very important, especially UNEP. The headquarters of UNEP is in a very, very interesting place. The headquarters of IPCC, it is at Geneva, Switzerland, and it is composed of 195 member states. And what does this IPCC do? Please remember, IPCC provides with objective and comprehensive scientific information about the climate change. The anthropogenic effect, the natural effects, what are the adverse impacts of climate change on weather, adverse impact on the polar regions, other regions. All these data would be given by IPCC. And please remember, IPCC does not conduct original research. This is a very important pointer. IPCC does not conduct original research, nor it monitors climate change. That means it does not do anything. It basically collates the data. Whatever research is going on climate change, all the things are brought together and IPCC collates a report. So voluntary contributions are done by different institutes, different academicians, different personalities to IPCC, and IPCC eventually collates all these things and gives us the data. It does not do its original research. Please remember, neither does it monitor the climate change. Right. With that note, let's talk about this particular report, Climate Change 2022 Mitigation of Climate Change Report. What does it talk about? The first thing that it mentions is we are responsible for warming the planet. Now, this is quite understandable. It's unequivocal that humans are responsible for the global warming and climate change. Of course, there are some natural reasons because of which warming does happen. Right? Agriculture is one of the things, volcanic eruptions, etc. But humans are the most important reason because of which the global warming is occurring. And to reduce that, we need to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. But the report gives us a grim picture about the concentration of CO2. Concentration of carbon dioxide is continuously increasing. We have still not peaked. But the report alternatively also highlights the second biggest contribution, methane. It says we need to be wary of methane emissions also, and we need to work towards reduction of methane. Apart from that, climate change and global warming is leading to extreme weather phenomena. This is on rise. Of course, you all must have experienced this, especially if you are living in a coastal area or anywhere, right? There are climate change patterns. You can see erratic monsoon, you can see cyclones, hurricanes everywhere, right? Problems are on the rise. Apart from that, the oceans are getting hotter. According to this report, the oceans are getting hotter. The oceans are getting higher. That means the mean sea level is rising and it is becoming acidic, right? Ocean acidification is happening. Please remember that ocean acidification does not mean oceans or water in the ocean is turning acidic. Please remember. Of course, it would be basic, but it is slowly and steadily moving towards acidic. And it is quite unlikely that it will completely turn acidic. It will not happen. But acidification, ocean acidification means the direction of pH in which the ocean water is moving, it is towards the acidic. It's not completely turning into acid. Now, you might have a question. So, what will happen then? A simple change in pH is happening. A simple or small change in pH can have catastrophic impact for the marine life. That is the importance. Alright. Apart from that, many of the changes that have already happened are quite irreversible. Now, when they say irreversible, it is going to take millenniums to reverse these things. For example, the sea level which is rising, the glacier that is melting, all these things are quite irreversible, at least in our lifetime. From a longer time perspective, it might take 2000 years or more than that so that we get back to this position, but so many things have been irreversible already. Again, this shows you a very grim picture, but the mitigation report also gives us some silver lining that there are signs of improvement. First of all, yes, the report says that we are far off the Paris targets. The Paris Climate Agreement has targets that we will keep the temperature global rise below 2 degrees Celsius, and we are working to limit it below 1.5 degrees Celsius from the pre-industrial level. No? That's the target that we have. But the report says we are no way closer to it because still the global CO2 or the global greenhouse gas emissions are peaking. Right? Once we peak, then we will go down, but that is not happening even now. If you talk about this particular small ridge here or the small fall, that was because of the COVID-19 pandemic and the lockdowns, but we have started to rise again. Right? According to this particular report, it says we should technically peak. If we are to achieve this target of 1.5 degrees Celsius, we have to peak by 2025 and we have to take many measures by 2030. So it's already 2022. In the next 3 years, we have to peak and then the CO2 emissions has to go down. This is quite unlikely. Many experts say this might happen by 2050. So this is a problem for everybody. Apart from that, it talks about solution because it talks about mitigation. It is a mitigation report and it lists nature-based solution. The IPCC report says nature is the unseen solution. Nature itself is a solution. Nature-based solutions have to be continuously expanded. Restoration with respect to human welfare, with respect to biodiversity. There are so many benefits of nature-based solutions. In fact, this particular report lists 43 cost-effective approaches for limiting the global warming. And out of that, the top 5, please focus, the top 5, of course, the solar energy, shift to solar energy or cleaner energy is there. Apart from that, shift towards wind energy is also there. Among the top 5 solutions, solar and wind energy promotion is there. India is working towards that. The National Solar Mission, we have wind energy, expansion of wind energy going on. But focus on the other measures. Ecosystem protection is one of the solution among top 5 solutions. Ecosystem protection, ecosystem restoration, and management of farmlands. These are the top 5 solutions, nature-based solutions, which are needed for mitigating the adverse impacts of climate change. Apart from that, the report also highlights if we bring nature-based approaches, they are actually cost-effective, and many of the countries they are today working on expansive technology. They talk about clean energy, they talk about battery technology, etc. But the report highlights we need to focus more and more on nature-based approaches because they're cost-effective, but they still remain underfunded. The IPCC report suggests that for solving the problem of climate change, we need nature-based solutions. Delivering nature-based solutions, it would cost approximately $400 billion by year 2050. $400 billion by 2050. And this amount is actually less than the current subsidies that we provide to agriculture and other forestry related things all over the world. I'm not talking about India, all over the world. So if we just shift the subsidy from this to this, it will help, right? Although completely shifting would be a problem, but the discussion here or the conclusion of this particular slide is that we need to fund more and more nature-based solutions. Apart from that, the report highlights that the world needs to make proactive decisions. We need to adopt sustainable economic development. We need to acknowledge climate change, and we need to reduce the vulnerability. What we need is limiting emissions, and to limit emissions, fossil fuels are the major contributors, and if we stop fossil fuel, we need to shift towards the cleaner energy. And here also the report highlights that urban areas are an excellent starting point for moving towards or implementing low emission development pathways. That is clean energy. Urban areas quite energy intensive, so they will be a good start for everybody all over the world. Apart from that, the 10th key takeaway, I spoke about a silver lining. The report says we can do it. We can do it. The report says that the evidence is clear. The time for action is now. We can halve emission by 2030 if we shift towards clean energy, if we go for nature-based solutions, if we go for innovative partnerships with expertise, with experience, and a will to change. Everyone must contribute towards this particular change. It's not just the governments. It's the national governments, the provincial governments, the local governments, the individuals. Everybody has to do their bit. Then we can do it. We can counter climate change and global warming. That is the message out of this IPCC 6th Assessment Working Group 3 6th Assessment Report, which talks about mitigation strategies. That is it in this particular discussion. I hope this was helpful for you. It is going to be a very good fodder for you for answer writing. Thank you for watching this. Jai Hind.